highway. And Mia, when I talked to Representative Congressman Adam Smith, he says, touch base with Mia. I did. And well, I have known Mia long before that. But anyway, when I touched base with Mia, we got together with the NAACP and we strategized. And Mia wrote a nice letter to the company in California. And let me tell you, they came out immediately and made some serious changes. So I just wanted to say that because Mia has been very, very supportive of seniors. But let me give you guys a little history. Mia was first appointed in 2013 to represent the 33rd Legislative District, including SeaTac, which is her district. Normandy Park, Des Moines, and parts of Kent, Berrien, Renton, and unincorporated Kane County, which is part of me. Mia also served as mayor of the SeaTac City Council from 2008 to 2015 and was part of the group that led the charge in the $15 minimum wage initiative that passed in Seattle in 2014 and was phased in over several years. This was the first $15 minimum initiative in the nation, and other cities and states later followed suit. Many of her legislative accomplishments included serving as chair of the House Member of Color Caucus and vice chair of the House Appropriations Committee. That's very, very important, that Appropriations Committee. Expanding voting rights, ensuring our residents are housed, helping to establish Washington's first office equity, championing statewide digital equity, and being part of the so-called food fighters who work together on legislation to help food insecure. Mia prides herself in representing one of the most racially diverse districts in the state. In the summer of 2023, Mia was appointed to serve on the board of directors of the Washington State Investment Board and was assigned to WSIB, Washington State Investment Board, Public Market Committee in the fall of 2023. Mia has spent more than 40 years in South King County and hold degrees from Highline Community College and the University of Washington. Prior to her service as a state representative, Mia worked as a surgical assistant and business management in the dental field for nearly 20 years. Mia is one of four generations of her family in the South King County area. She has an adult daughter, Alexis, who lives in Seattle. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, Mia Gregerson, representative of the 33rd Legislative District.
I'd like to say welcome to you, Mia. At this time, members are on the call. Refer to your agenda because we will have some questions that we'd like to ask Mia now that we have heard a little more about her background. And so I'd like to ask Kent if he would read question number 1.
Yeah, okay. Well, this one's pretty obvious. Why are you running for state legislator? And what are your top priorities if you're elected?
Thank you, Kent. And thank you again for allowing me to be here with you today. I have really enjoyed working on the budget. It's a place where we can question all of our investments. As you know, by being there, I'm able to really influence more investments around senior nutrition programs. That's an example where that's all budgetary. We're going to be talking about more investments around helping folks get full-time benefits who are actually represented by 775 SEIU who work in the long-term care area. They actually don't have adequate healthcare benefits. That's all budgetary. And of course, the local bargaining that's going to happen, that's going to be about $2 billion. And COLA, all those things really are, we fund our values. And so I'm hoping to be able to go back to Olympia to do that. I really appreciate being the chair of the Members of Color Caucus. We're about 46% of the House Democratic Caucus now. When I got appointed or elected, I think I was one of 9 total members, both in the Senate and the House when it came to members of color. So having that longevity of the institution, but also being able to represent folks that are both newly here to Washington State and who have been here a long time, I feel like there's a real true calling. I think probably the easiest way to say that is I'm an X generation, and sometimes I struggle to know whether is it my shoulders that people want to leap from, or do you want me out of the way? And we're sort of at that time right now. And I think a lot of your issues that you care about is going to need some folks like me who can reach back and kind of talk about all of the struggles, the wins, the fights, where we're at, and why we need to hold on to those investments as we move forward. 1 in 5, right, will be over 65. Divesting in these issues now is only going to make things worse.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you heard about
I'll
the
bring you out a couple pieces in a minute.
the forecast. It's not going to look great. So we can talk a little bit more about that too, if you want. Thank you.
Thank you. When all of the questions have been posed, there will be time for questions from the rest of you. I'd like to stay on target here and ask Debbie to present question number 2. Debbie?
Hi, this is Debbie Haig, and I am a chapter president, and I'm from the South King County, so many of our seniors live in the areas that you represent, so welcome. My question is, what do you see as the most pressing challenges facing retired public employees in our state, and how will you work to address these issues?
Thank you, Debbie. And that's a difficult one when it comes to what is the number one most important thing. Just like all of these complex issues, there's so much intertwined, right? If we lift one part of the system, we can't forget about another. When I think about that, I think about rent stabilization. I was just at a mobile home park last week, and seniors who are relying on not only a fixed cost of living, but also fixed rent when it comes to the land below them. And when it goes up 35%, we all know what that means for people, what that means for folks. So I think one of the biggest challenges right now is making sure that we stabilize the rent, the cost of living when it comes to housing, so that we can, right? Part of public safety is if you cannot lock your door at night, if you are so stressed because you don't know where you're going to sleep or where you're going to live, to stay in the community where all the resources are for you, your healthcare, your family, your job, ways of getting tying the ends to all those different things. Maybe it's senior nutrition programs, a place to exercise. My dad goes to the YMCA. That gives him a place of talking to others, defying misinformation, disinformation, but also stay healthy. So housing is one. Of course, access to affordable healthcare is a big deal. But also that means that we have to have providers who can provide affordable health care. We know that physicians are about 30% down. I know I tried to get a wellness health check, and it's not until January where I can get my next appointment. People are forgoing wellness checks and things like that when that system is broken. I also recognize that, like when you look at the self-sufficiency index that University of Washington has, the cost of living is different depending on what county you live in out of the 39 counties. And even, right, parts of the county, South King County versus in the middle of Seattle, cost of living is different. So being mindful about that, whether it's the cost of food and access, the cost of transportation. So I can't help but say that they're all intertwined. That's why I want to be reelected, because I think it does require all those points for people to have a healthy life and to be able to thrive.
Thank you, Mia. Chapter 4, President Warren Warfield, could you present the next question?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm Warren Warfield, and my chapter covers Eastern King County. First of all, I applaud your public service career and looking at your biography. I noticed you also are vice chair of the Appropriations Committee, and that is a very critical committee in terms of moving forward legislation. And obviously, you serving on that, you're very familiar with the pension plans, and you know that there are two different kinds. There's the defined contribution plan, and there's the defined benefit plan, which most public service employees are on. Their public benefit, the defined benefit plan. My question to you is: will you oppose any attempts to close existing pension plans, and are open new plans, and what will you do to ensure that our current plans remain stable and healthy? In other words, we're not looking to switch to defined contribution plan, basically. And so we're looking to make sure that what we have is protected.
Yeah, thank you, Warren. And that's a no-brainer for me. I mean, being on the state investment board, right, and a vice chair of appropriations, and former vice chair of labor, I get the importance to this. I understand why we are solvent, and that any attacks or any attempts to repeal or undo some of this work would be detrimental, terrible for those that have invested and are relying on this system. And so, if anything, we need to invest more in these areas. And so that hopefully is what kind of conversation we're going to be spending our time. But I also can't help but say that is for me why a working majority is really important. A small majority as a Democrat is very different. I was in the House when we didn't have the Senate majority, and then we also were only a 50 vote, so only one vote lead. And there's a lot of defense. There's no offense when that happens. And so really all the gains that we've made in the last few sessions, I don't want to lose either. And so again, being in the majority, part of the majority party, I take that very seriously. And also, again, coming from local government, the transparency of making sure we talk about these things so other people are educated, so they don't pick it as a fight or an issue to really take up time, precious time during session.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bill Ziegler, chapter 35, would you present the next question? Bill. Unmute, Bill. All right. What a good moderator does.
Okay, how about that?
There you are.
There I am. Okay, thank you, Mia, for coming aboard here. I just want to mention to you that the people in these 5 chapters in this greater area, Puget Sound area, cover about 3,000 retired public employees, of which most of them are PERS 1. And so this question is about PERS 1. In 2011, PERS 1 and TERS 1 became the only pension plans managed by the Department of Retirement Systems to not receive annual automatic cost of living adjustments. The legislature took away the uniform COLA, and since then, restoring the retirement security of Plan 1 retirees has been the top priority of our organization. In 2018, 2020, and 2022, and 2023, and now in 2024, we helped pass bills to provide one-time COLAs to these retirees. While one-time COLAs have provided much needed short-term relief, they have fallen short of providing long-term security. Even with the one-time COLAs, most Plan 1 pensioners have lost 40% of their purchasing power since 2010, forcing many retirees to move out of the communities they dedicated their lives to serving. In 2023, the legislature passed a bill that directs the Select Committee on Pension Policy to study and recommend an ongoing Plan 1 COLA proposal to the legislature by the end of this year. This work is currently ongoing. Will you support the Select Committee on Pension Policy's ongoing COLA proposal in 2025? And if so, how will you work to advance this priority?
Yeah, I absolutely will support it. And in fact, even if they don't have a priority that we agree on, then I will veer from that to support more economic security, more economic justice. I know that there's also the sliding scale of those who have been who don't have a total. So you can all correct me if I'm wrong, but you have to be below a certain threshold and part of the plan for X amount of years and over a certain age. And that is a dial, right? And so that is a dial also that I am watching very closely along with my colleagues to see as also other backups to continuing to move towards the full sustainable COLA increase that we don't have to talk about and deliberate over every year. But I do, out of all transparency, need to make sure that we're all on the same page of how bad the budget landscape looks going into next session. But at the same time, my colleagues and we are talking about billions of dollars of new revenue. So in that conversation, I hope that you use your collective voice to ensure that there's a place for that, a place for you, a place for this work. I know a few billion will, of course, be towards K-12, but there needs to be more for others. So again, that's why I wanted to start my comments today about the holistic approach to what a healthy community means. And they require all of these things. So I hope that you'll be on that journey with me, with us, in starting in the most aggressive answer to this, but also be willing to continue to talk about as we're trying to negotiate through a long session, through a governor change, right? Through all these other hurdles that we need to get through in order to get out of session later next year.
Thank you for that, Mia. We will be with you all the way. And thank you for your comment on that. The last question that we have, Chapter 28, Jim Balls is unable to be here today. And because it has to do with the healthcare issues that many seniors are interested in, I'm going to ask Claude Burfict. Claude, would you please address the fifth question? Claude works very heavily on healthcare issues with the council and can give us some insights. Thank you. Unmute, Claude.
What I have done, I have been working with healthcare as a human right. And we are talking not only national, but we're talking local healthcare. And we're talking about also the PEP as well. And you know more about the PEP. We want to make sure that seniors, I don't have anything written down on this, but we want to make sure that seniors is provided with a health care that is affordable, that they can afford. And I know that we've had some problems with uniform medical, and I just want to know what can be done or what you will help us or support us in making sure that we have an affordable healthcare system that seniors, and you and I have talked about this, Mia, before, and we know that your parents are seniors, and we talked about this heavily on several occasions. So we want to make sure that we have something uh, put together that will be affordable for seniors, and we want to make sure that we keep uniform medical where we have a lot of seniors that rely on uniform medical. So, and it's called UMP or whatever you want to call it. So um, that's pretty much what I want to say. But I do know this, that I belong to this organization that is dealing with healthcare, and I know Pramila Jayapal has been a strong, strong supporter. And as a matter of fact, she put in some legislation through in Congress on healthcare. And I know that Ro Khanna has picked up that legislation. He's another legislator out of California that have picked up that legislation and is moving it forward on universal health care. So we want to make sure that our seniors are protected with health care and as minimal as possible. So
Claude, would you please present the questions?
I don't have the question.
All right, I'll substitute for you. Okay.
You do that.
Will you work to increase the PEB Medicare explicit subsidy? In what other ways will you work to address healthcare concerns of seniors?
Yes, thank you, Claude, for the overview, and Almajine for the question. Right, the fight around privatization of healthcare, period, has been huge, and we're seeing those effects. Folks here who, I'm guessing you all live in the Puget Sound area, don't have as many of the issues as if you live in rural Washington, right? Like, we're seeing rural hospitals shut down. And if they don't shut down, kind of like Valley General Medical here in Renton, they'll shut parts of the hospital or parts of the institution down. And it's very difficult for folks that are the most vulnerable to know what's happening to get ahead of that. I think that is where RPEC has an incredible amount of opportunity to be more forceful and to be more of a voice in those spaces. An example is they're shutting down the eye care clinic at Valley Medical Center, VMC. That's a big deal for those of us in South King County who rely on that. Those are also, right, living wage jobs that are represented by SEIU. So that's all happening every day. And so if we want this end result that provides affordable access to healthcare with wraparound services near where we live, then we have to keep going upstream on this, because we are losing that fight. It's kind of like saving salmon. Like, we have to literally go upstream and figure out where those pain points are and stop that and demand that we either keep the services, we keep things public, right? We use your voices. Oftentimes when I have policy I care about, I hide behind seniors, because your voices really can move a lot of policy that maybe working families can't, right? Workers in the field can't. So this is also an opportunity, hopefully, and a call to you to help be in partnership on this. As you've seen us move a lot of bills to try to attempt to slow this stuff down, cost of prescriptions, right? PMBs, other things too, just having you have a very active, loud voice on yes or no. And I agree, on the federal level, one of the things in preparation for today is, if there's ever a way that we can use our legislative teams, our connections, our relationships to write letters to Congress or others, please let us know. We're happy to be in partnership with you or do that on behalf of. If you want us to have town halls or any other ways too, community chats, ways to educate folks that aren't tracking this as close as you are and some of your members are. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. The last I want to make sure is, right, cyber attacks, the ability for healthcare providers to lose the connection to you around your My Chart. We saw that happen, and we saw people die, right? When the My Chart was down. We know that 1 in 3 Americans have had their data breached. We also know that seniors are particularly vulnerable when it comes to telehealth, because navigating the platforms, having the right device, having affordable, fast enough internet that is not a utility, is part of making sure that they have access to affordable healthcare where they are. So I hope that's okay.
You know, Mia, I know this is a fact because I'm a part of the Poor People's Campaign. And I know that poverty is one of the main, well, I would say emphasis is on poverty. 40% of poor people, and that includes seniors as well, die because they cannot afford health care. And I've talked to and I've spoken with a lot of senior folks that, and when we talk about prescription drugs, they are cutting their drugs in half so that they will be able to at least get some benefit from that drug. So healthcare is not only the COLA, but healthcare is a major, major issue in this country. And we all seniors, and I'm looking at myself and everybody else, have become victims of the lack of affordable health care and prescription drugs. I know Alma Jean and I met with what's her name? Not only Susan Del Bene, but Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi. And you know, we had a meeting with them a couple of years ago, and that was an issue that was brought up as well. So I'm glad to working with this.
Claude, I need to cut you off, and I can't do that because I'm the moderator. And we have some other hands up. We'll get back to you, okay? Kent.
Well, I just wanted to mention Medicare Advantage specifically. I've been working kind of as, not as an official member, but with a healthcare committee too. And that seems to be where a lot of the problems arise. And part of what the state, I think, could do better is better educate people as to the differences between Medicare Advantage and regular Medicare. And then, as we're saying, if we can get a better subsidy for regular Medicare, I think that will help strengthen the whole system.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big part of our conversation going into session is the Medicare reimbursements, right? The rates, because that is going upstream why so many clinics are not taking Medicare or Medicaid even, right? Recipients. So the state has to keep going upstream. We also need new revenue if we're going to do this, make a difference.
Debbie?
Yeah, I'm here. I just wanted to comment that I just got a text message from my sister who's a senior, and she has stage 3 kidney failure, and her doctor wants to put her on some medicine, but it's $580 a month. And us seniors cannot afford that amount of money.
Yeah, I mean, it is the difference, as kind of Claude said, it's the difference between living and dying for people who are poor. This is not the kind of country, this is not the kind of state we want to be. It can be different. We need the people that are the wealthiest and are making all this money to give more, right? And as we become more of an aging society, it's just going to continue to cost more. Government does everything that businesses have already decided they can't make money doing. So it's just going to get more expensive when it comes to government providing these subsidies, providing the service. subsidized. We actually really need some type of guaranteed basic income. If we're not going to change it in this other space, then we need some sort of guaranteed basic income. And there's been some pretty good studies that are coming out to show when folks have $1,000 more a month, that's where, Debbie, your sister can use that. That's where people can use it to stay afloat, and goes right back into the system. So businesses should be happy with this kind of concept. I don't know if it'll happen in our lifetime, but I think it's worth a try.
Warren?
Yes, I want to circle back around to the reoccurring COLA issue. You being on the appropriations committee, one thought, the big issue with the legislators approving the reoccurring COLA is the unfunded liability issue. And until that's resolved, at least the zero imbalance or close to it, we're not going to get a reoccurring COLA. Well, one thought was, the State Investment Board invests the employer and employees' contributions, and then that money is distributed out to the pension plan through the commingled trust fund. Well, one thought is if the return on investment exceeds 7%, say 7.5%, could some of that money, before it gets distributed to the pension plans from the State Investment Board, could that possibly be allocated, obviously through legislative action, to the PERS 1 pension plan to reduce that unfunded liability?
Sorry, I'm taking notes. So I think that's a great creative idea. If you don't mind following up with an email to me, it's always better for me to take a constituent's idea and request and move it forward rather than it just being my own idea. And that way then I can loop you in, right? Because you're asking the question and that conversation doesn't happen in a vacuum. And so to me, that feels like something that we can use my ward appointment on the SIB to have those conversations, and we can pair that, right, with my appropriation space and my colleagues that are on the state pension plan.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay, thanks.
Well, Mia, you've got through all those questions. I told you it would be easy. Thank you. We touched on every word. Now, you're welcome to stay. We're going to move on to other business. And we'll be looking forward to working with you and vice versa. It's a two-way thing. What can you do to help us? And what can we do to help you? You have what I call the set of skills that we need working for us. So thank you for being with us. Thank you for your time. And we'll be back in touch. Okay?
Yes, thank you so much, Alma Jean. And please don't use the candidate, these election cycles too, to really have those relationships. I'm around all the time. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
So long.
Bye.
Bye. All right, Warren, the floor is yours. Warren has a idea. He's always full of ideas, and here it is. If we could screen share the information that Warren has.
Okay, you blindsided me. I wasn't expecting it this soon.
Called the con for District 9.
Okay.
You have something else? All right.
Submitted.
I was gonna say, do you want to share? Do you have the document or whatever information you're going to be covering? Because I don't think I got a copy. If there's a document.
I think if Jacob can share screen. Because it was sent out, I think Alma Jean sent it out to all of the members. District 9 chapter.
It was at the bottom of the email that had the Zoom link, all the way at the bottom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had to scroll down to find it.
Oh. We'll see if Jacob can maybe share screen, put that on the screen for you. What are you trying to do that?
Find that.
Okay. Well, he's trying to do that. I'll give you some background. Okay. Basically, the proposal I was throwing out there has to do with membership recruitment. And so what brought this about? Well, I just became president of Chapter 46 I'm not familiar with your chapters. I'm not familiar with District 9, having transferred from Chapter 37 in Linwood in March. So one of the things I'm trying to do as the new chapter president is trying to come up with a membership committee plan. Membership is hard. It's hard to recruit. It's hard to try to retain members. And so I'm trying to come up with something for the chapter that is simple to try to minimize the members' time having to spend regarding this issue, and yet we get results. Well, one of the 4 components I've come up with as far as the membership plan is recruitment. And one of the ways RPEC has recruited in the past is when they have various events where RPEC has an opportunity to be present. As a matter of fact, I got mine when RPEC flyer when I went to a retirement seminar way back just before I was getting ready to retire. So I just kind of threw this together as, I don't want one chapter, whether your chapter or my chapter, to be saddled with, hey, we've got this seminar coming up, DNR seminar, can you pony up some volunteers? I said, well, what we need to do, we need to share the workload among the 5 chapters. So, and here again, this may be overblown. I'm not familiar with how many type of events we have in District 9. We have retirement seminars. There might be something going on, say, at Bellevue Community College. There may be something with the union where they say, hey, RPEC, you want to have some members present to talk about RPEC? Great. So I thought, well, why don't we combine our resources? And so basically, I have put this together. Simply stated is that any request, I'm assuming most requests would probably come through Olympia, RPEC Olympia. Then they could forward that request, if it's in District 9, it would have to be somewhere in District 9. That request would be forwarded to a District 9 coordinator, and I'm going to say maybe Alma Jean. And then Alma Jean would forward that, depending on where it is. Let's say it's in Redmond. Okay, well, our chapter covers Redmond. So she might forward it to our chapter and say, hey, there's this event going on in Redmond, blah, blah, blah. And we have an opportunity to be present. And do you have anybody who can do that? And I said, well, yeah, I have a list of volunteers. And it might be our chapter and adjacent chapter. So basically, our chapter and recommending other chapters would have kind of a list of volunteers who are willing to do that. I have several volunteers I think are willing to be a part of that list. But I'm just one chapter. And I don't want our chapter to be saddled with this workload. So my suggestion is, why don't we share the opportunities? Now, here again, there may only be 1 or 2 opportunities to even come up a year. And maybe this may be overblown and unnecessary. We just, if we don't do this, then I guess we just go whatever happened. My chapter gets a call and I got to pony up I got to make some calls and see if I can get some volunteers. But if I have a list already, I have a membership coordinator who does that for a chapter. That is the concept I'm throwing out. And I just throw that open for discussion.
Okay. Don't everybody talk at the same time. I thought this would be a very good agenda. I like the idea that we do it together as District 9. Within the strategic plan, districts are expected to assist with recruitment. This is definitely a possibility for us in a formalized way. We don't have anything formalized. We do a lot of these things already, we just do them, but we really do not have anything formalized. So I appreciate this document for that reason. And what I'm asking you that are watching and listening is to critique, to consider it. Would you like to take it back to your chapter members and talk to them about it? Where do you want to go with this?
Yeah, I'd like to hear what Colleen has to say.
I got my hand raised. Yeah, I am questioning why this is to be formalized, because isn't that what is already being done through Jacob? When an event comes up, he gets in touch with the chapter or chapters that possibly could have people come. So it looks to me like it's already being done.
I'll just kind
That's
of
all.
respond real quick, and then Kevin, I'll let you go ahead. But yeah, for any of the events that we are made aware of, I'll reach out to the chapters that are in that local area. But I think where we don't have, inside information, or mostly the kind of events that we become aware of are when there's like policy meetings for WFC, things like that with, other closely affiliated unions. We aren't really aware as much of like general community events or events at specific union locals. We're not as well connected at that level. We're kind of connected at kind of the council level. So I think in general, we do that process currently for the events that the council office is aware of. But I think there is an opportunity for there to be, more events discovered, more opportunities for RPEC members to have a presence at from a local perspective. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you. I do think this sounds like a good idea. I think it's an excellent area for the roundtable to be involved in. As we do get back to our more regular meetings, which we had before COVID, I think it'd be a good topic. One of the questions or challenges, I think, which Jacob sort of alluded to, is how we identify these events, how many events there are, how we can track them, and dare I say, can we even prompt some events? I think some of these retirement seminars that may not be as prominent as they were before COVID. So I think we need to try to get some of that back going. But I think the concept is a good one, and I think the roundtable would have a role in it. I'd like to hear what everyone else thinks about that.
Debbie has her hand up.
I was just going to comment that I have 4 people that are, Lori just sent me something that there's going to be some interviews and stuff working with WFC. So I send that out, but I have 4 people that are actively participants if something comes up. So I think it's good. Emmett used to have that information on the people for chapter 30. So I think it's good to be collecting it all in one area. That's it.
I cannot find a raised hand.
Yeah, I can't find it either.
I can't get mine to raise either.
All right, both of you go, and then I got something to say as well.
Well, what I wanted to say is that I proposed this long time ago. I mentioned long before Lori came on board that we needed to tap into the unions, and I'm affiliated with so many of the WFC unions. I'm affiliated with a whole lot of unions here in the area. All we have to do is get them, when they have their meetings within whatever areas, we can have people there. I'm willing to sacrifice myself to go to a lot of these meetings to let the people who's getting ready to retire, or maybe they're a year, 2 years away, or they are currently retired, provide the information to them to build up the membership. I mean, there's a way of doing it, and I've presented that prior to Lori's coming here, and nothing has been done. But I think Jacob's doing a fine job, and then we can get this done through the WFC and all the other state locals and so forth, so. That's all I wanted to say.
I got a question. Hello?
Go ahead, Bill.
I think you were first, actually, Jacob, weren't you?
No, you're good. I have something to add on to the general conversation and kind of what Claude mentioned. So you go first.
Okay. So let's get real about this, folks. You might have 3 or 4 people in each chapter willing to do this from time to time, but that varies. You're going to need more because people can't always show up to everyone. Number 2 is the biggest problem we have, and we all have large locals in this area, large chapters. But the biggest problem is resources, human resources willing to do this and able. And that's our problem. We just have trouble mobilizing folks. So it makes sense to me, as Kevin pointed out, that we share that, and as Warren's pointed out, to me, it makes sense that we share that idea. I think what he's raising is the idea of a coordinator for the district that probably gets this information from Olympia and then disseminates it. So look at the reason Debbie just brought up that she was asked, her chapter was asked to participate in federation interviews of candidates is what she's talking about. I've done many of these over the years, and so has Claude. They're useful, they're interesting to a lot of people. To some people, they make no sense whatsoever because we only get 2 retiree questions out of about 6 or 8 that have nothing to do with us. So it just depends upon the individual. I like going to them because I learn about the candidates, and it's an opportunity to ask the candidates to come to the chapter or to speak or to come to roundtable. So I'm just throwing these things out here that the concept is good, and it's similar to what we had before. I think what's new is that we have a functioning membership organization in Olympia that's very honed in on different ideas. And the proof of that is that in the strategic plan and in other places, the idea of functioning districts is now actually being mentioned. Has it been implemented? No, not really. But here and there, districts are doing things, and the coordination between those districts and Olympia is really, I think, the future. That's it.
Just real quick to follow up on what was mentioned about recruiting from unions and, utilizing our folks such as Claude that have close union ties. Yeah, I totally agree. I think those are the, local type of networking opportunities that chapters kind of have to lead on that. And, we can support that effort. Like, for example, we have information as far as like contact info for union locals all across the state. Through a Washington State Labor Council directory that they put out every year. Also, I know somewhere on a document I have is a list of all the meetings for a bunch of different locals in the state. Doesn't cover all of them, but that information can be found online in somewhere or another as well. So those are ways that I can at least help out in supporting, members being able to identify those opportunities and when they can go and provide representation for RPEC at those different local meetings. Anyway, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, thanks. I want to perhaps leverage a little bit on what Bill said. And I think the easiest way to, or an easier way to get more resources is to make it easier for those resources to do what we're interested in. I think developing some basic talking points, if you're asking people to go out and make presentations, what's the message we want to get out there? And I think we could craft, and it doesn't have to be a script that people go from kind of an outline. I think it will be easier for folks to get out there and spread the word. But again, I think that's something that the roundtable could work on. We could probably create email or something, but I think that'll be an important part of this.
Yeah, good point, Kevin. Colleen, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to give Jacob a lot of credit for all the hard work you've done as it relates to even straightening out the lists that existed that were so incorrect. There was nobody almost on there that was accurate as far as the contact people for unions. So between COVID and that, there was an awful long period of time that it was not even possible to get around. Then once you do, a message should be terribly quick, because what we want is 1 minute, 3 minutes most. Not at all. That's all I have to say. That's
Okay,
Thanks, Colleen.
anyone else?
Colleen in the past has mobilized all of the chapters to participate, for example, in the Martin Luther King County Labor Council cookouts that they have every September. And that's exactly what she does. She contacts each chapter and asks for volunteers. And so again, we're back to the idea of a coordinator. It's sounding more like if we staff up a little bit as a district, we could probably decide what things we want to do and what we don't want to do. Warren, why don't you get us back on track here?
Well, it's nice to get all the feedback. Well, one question I have is, what's the roundtable?
That's the district, all 5 chapters formed a roundtable, and that's Claude's initiative. And that's what brought us together initially into a roundtable. And we met regularly over the years until COVID.
The original district leadership meeting. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
I see. Okay.
we're calling ourselves a district now because it's just to be in the same vein as happening in other places, which I hope we can get to, because District 1 is a functioning district as far as I can tell. And they're doing things that we have never done. We are a functioning district because we do things that other people don't do. So, and there are other districts around the state that they either meet occasionally or they meet regularly, and they get stuff done. So.
Well, this is, I'm kind of gathering that this is a start. And following COVID, obviously, there's an effort, you might say, to try to bring some things that were pre-COVID back together post-COVID. And I think I'm gathering that there's a kind of a consensus, I'll say, that it would be nice to probably, there was a district coordinator where things could be funneled from Olympia through the coordinator, and then that coordinator would have the responsibility, I'll say, to reach out to the appropriate chapters. If there's an event, okay, we have an event coming up, your chapter is up or whatever, it's in your area. We need 2 volunteers from your chapter. I'm going to contact chapter X and see if I get 2 more volunteers from that chapter. In other words, that's the job of that coordinator. And I think we're kind of getting some momentum here, you might say, and probably need to be a little bit fine-tuned. But, we think if this thing needs further exploring, and that might be something maybe that perhaps between Jacob and Almadine, they might maybe fine-tune this thing.
Warren, let me just say this. That is the role of Alma Jean and myself through Olympia. They are the ones that provide us with the information to provide to the chapters. We are what you would call the coordinators. We put this together. The roundtable was put together because they wanted to have district meetings where we all can meet. That wasn't going to happen because Chapter 46 said they would not travel. So we decided to put a roundtable together. was myself, Bill, Alma Jean, decided to put a round table together so that we can bring in members from chapter 3, chapter 28, chapter 30, chapter 35, and 46. They can provide that information because we are getting the information from Olympia. They can provide that information to their chapters. We don't need a coordinator. We are the coordinator. Thank you. And I have a doctor's appointment, Alma Jean, and I'm going to have to leave in at least 10 more minutes.
Do I put an amen on that?
Colleen, Warren,
Yeah.
we are running low on time. Let
Alma
me
Jean,
just-
I want to respond to Claude briefly.
All right.
Okay, so here's the way that the district works. It doesn't work the way that's been described. What it is in the Constitution. Claude is absolutely right. The functioning of the district is really, or the coordination falls on the district representatives. That's true. But what we decided with that resolution that we put through was it's an option for those two elected officials to set up any structure that they can to assist them. So this is not about taking anything away from them. It's about whether or not they feel that we should have a more formal structure, as Warren has suggested, to do some of the things we've done in the past. So this is not replacing anything in the Constitution or bylaws. It's actually providing more beef. For example, the two representatives asked the chapters to elect a chair of the roundtable. And they did that in one of the first meetings. I became the chair. And the chair's job was to work with them and coordinate totally with them about what we're going to talk about and set up the meetings and all the rest of it, and help the thing go along. So hope that clarifies it a little bit. In other words, you got room to move, representatives.
Yeah, I think I would have to agree with Bill. You know, I think that, like, for example, maybe an idea is kind of like Bill already said, you got folks that are representing each chapter here in these meetings. And, you know, the goal, as far as membership goes at the chapter level, is to have that addressed by having, you know, a chapter membership committee or a chapter membership chair. So if membership focused people from each chapter attend these meetings and are at the direction of the district reps, then you have more people to delegate things to accomplish more. And those folks have a hyper focus on membership. That would be kind of their main responsibility. I think it's just right now we're having to experiment and try new things and figure out what's going to actually make membership recruitment a successful thing. And I don't think it's easy to do with just a couple of folks, especially when there's a lot of other responsibilities that fall on those people. You know, that's the struggle that we run into here at the office sometimes, is there's a lot more we want to do, but we're limited in manpower. So yeah, I would have to agree. I echo the sentiment of Claude, but I also think that the proposal that Warren is bringing forward is just to tackle membership with a little more intention. So that's my 2 cents.
Jacob, I would say to this document that Warren has put together, we need to fine tune that more like a guidelines from the district.
Yeah, I can incorporate that with the district guidelines that we reviewed.
Warren, would you appreciate some wordsmithing assistance?
You talking about now, or maybe putting it together and get back to Jacob?
Yeah.
Yes,
The latter.
the latter.
Right.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, I'll work with Jacob on that.
All right. And
That sounds
I
good.
think Kevin would be helpful. He seems to get the gist, the intent. Okay.
That's my other question. Who's Kevin?
Kevin's in chapter 35. He's is he a board member of the chapter? Is that right? Yeah.
He was one of the originators of Roundtable. First meetings we ever had, he was always there.
And I'm on the chapter 35 executive board.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Very good. Chapter representation. Okay, just give me 2 minutes here and we'll close this down so you can go back into Seafair. I can't say much more because we don't have the time that I hope to put into it. We are approaching the convention. I think if you would just review intently the summer edition of the newsletter that came out of the council. It's one of the best examples of what an annual report could look like that I've seen in a long while. We've done a lot of work, folks. We have a lot left to do, but the staff, our membership, we have done a lot, and we have a lot more to do. The emphasis through this time, through the elections, is mobilized to provide support to get that COLA across. Even though the newsletter will show that that RPEC has endorsed candidates, has provided some cash flow. We are asked as chapters, our members are to continue to meet with our legislatures to build relationships, especially the new ones, to get them up to speed so that they will support us. Full court press. They need people who are willing to testify, testimony, so that when we're dealing with the legislator, we have people who could support our concerns. So that is the emphasis. Next meeting, what's your feeling on that?
What?
Do we need another meeting before the convention?
Let me throw something out here. What Al Magin is saying is that we have to mobilize for the Select Committee on Pension Policy, which meets in September, and Warren has more detail on that. And what we're being asked to do is to testify by sending emails. You can just simply register your support by email, or you can send an email to the Select Committee, or if you wish to do so, you can volunteer to testify. And I'm pretty sure that the Olympia chapter will have a good selection of things that people can talk about, but mainly I think what they're asking for is people to testify personally, how the
Yes.
PERS 1 COLA is so necessary for them. That's the only thing that seems to be moving that committee. Even though we've done a lot of work on the technical part of it, it's still up to them, and it's really a political will now. And really, the only thing that's effective, according to our board member on that committee, is the personal testimony of lots of people and lots of emails and lots of letters or phone calls even in support of the Select Committee. And in September is when they take up the issue of whether or not they're going to put out a PERS 1 COLA proposal and what it looks like. Warren has more detail.
Well, just add on to Bill's comments. The other thing that Lori's pushing for is a physical presence at September, October, November meetings.
Yeah.
So if you have the ability to travel, carpool, or travel to Olympia during those meetings, she's asking us just to sit in the audience. If you have an RPEC shirt, wear your RPEC shirt. You're not there to testify. You're not there to clap your hand or yell or scream. She said, you're there in silence, but you're there to show the flag. And that is what she's asking, in addition to obviously emails, or what they'll do is RPEC will come out with the meeting announcement, and that's that line where you can do the pro. You can click on pro and you can register your support for a PERS 1 COLA. So if nothing else, that's a very quick, easy way to voice your opinion. And I'd recommend you do that.
Okay. Any other comments? Well, then I would say this is as far as the future meeting. If there are issues that come up that I feel we need to come together, I'll make that clear and I'll set it up for you. Is that okay? I won't give you a date right now because I don't know what those issues might be. We might need another meeting before the convention. We definitely should have a meeting after the convention to move on to things that come out of it. Okay? Comments? No further comments?
I'll just add one thing. We're getting ready to send out our summer newsletter shortly, I hope.
Yes.
And in there, what we're going to do is, because it's more expensive to do color, we're going to do it in black and white. We do have some pictures and everything, but I'm fortunate that I have a very good Microsoft Word person on my team. And when we get newsletter goes out, we're going to turn around and we're going to send the color version out to our members' email lists. We have about 60% of our members we have email addresses. So we're going to shoot that out to them also with the color version, besides those getting the black and white.
We took chapter 28 gets it in color if they're on the board or the regular attendees. And then they get the mail copy too that's in black and white. Just a little something special for those of us who show up all the time, that are there all the time. Okay. Well, if I don't hear anything else, are you ready to adjourn?
Motion.
No?
What did we decide about mobilizing for September's select committee? Are we going to do anything or just leave it up to the chapter?
Folks, if you want to get people from your chapters, or if you want to do a communication out to the folks in your chapters to see if there's people interested, just reach out to me and I can facilitate an email out to folks. There's some sticky issues that come with trying to do big email blasts, such as higher risk of going to spam if you have too many recipients and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of a nightmare. And it's, since it's mobilization, we want to get it to as many folks that are interested as possible. So just let me know if you're going to do that and have that conversation with people. So especially if you have a chapter meeting coming up next month.
For example, one idea might be to figure out how many people from any chapter in this district are willing to ride 2 or 3 people down to Olympia. I mean, I'd be one to do that. I'm always happy to do that. And that would be fulfilling really the goal of what we want to do, is to fill that room full of people. So that's one thing that we could do. There's others probably.
If each chapter would let someone like Bill know that they need rides, that's how we've been doing it. I looked into the commuter possibilities, and I hear that we have actually leased buses, brought them out to be pick up people from the north and the south end of Seattle, and people don't show up even though it's already paid for. I don't know why. So it's up to the chapters now to do that. So, okay.
Alma Jean, can I make one last little comment before we join? I was at that meeting last night at First Beginning Church, and Patty Murray, Adam Smith, Pramila Jayapal, Marilyn Strickland was there. And they talked about 2025. And I just want folks to know that 2025 will have a tremendous impact on seniors. So, what was that, Alma? Yeah.
It'll blow you away.
Right. And I just want folks to make sure that they tell their neighbors, their friends, whoever, please get out and vote. Because if you know who gets in there, he's already made the statement. If he's in, this is the last election. That tells you he is already got everything set up and ready to go as a dictator of this country, and he will eliminate democracy. So tell your friends, your relatives, and whomever else, get out and vote, because this is the most critical election in the history of the United States. Thank you. I got to go to my doctor's appointment. Bye.
Thanks, Claude.
Very good.
Beware Project 2025.
Yeah.
Good bedtime reading. Although I hear the chair has already resigned and Trump says he doesn't know anything about it.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, sure.
I just
Anyway.
missed something, Jacob. Did you say that there will be a notice out to mobilize people for the select committee meeting in September?
If you folks or other leaders of your chapters are going to pursue people on that topic, have them or you yourselves reach out to me so I can get a communication out, and then obviously the leaders will be expected to follow up with members to identify folks. So
Well, if we think it's important, I would suggest a blast to every chapter, even though it's a lot of work. I
Yeah.
know I just did a blast for my chapter, and a lot of them in Comcast went to spam. So this is a technical problem, but
Yeah.
most chapters do have about 50 or 60% of their people on email.
I will find out if we already have plans to do through like Action Network, like a mass mobilization for those 3 months, and I will go ahead and pass that along to you guys as well.
Okay, sounds good.
That sounds good. Okay.
Colleen?
Yes, I wanted to ask about one remark that was made. If there are people that want to get rides, they're supposed to call Bill Ziegler. Bill, is that okay with you?
Well, Bill has volunteered. That's what I'm going to do.
What I said is I volunteer and I can take 3 people.
You're okay. Okay, you're okay with that. Okay.
Now, if other people, if they're asked and other people volunteer, that's actually what we're looking for.
That's right.
We could get maybe a group of us from this district down there.
I'll work on that. All right. This meeting is adjourned.
Just a quick question. What time of the day do those meetings tend to be?
Let me look ahead and see if I can. I just got the new executive director's letter is about to drop maybe by tomorrow. I will see. Let me just take a look at it real quick here.
Which meetings are we talking about? Because they are on the website for the convention.
SCPP, I don't think I couldn't find their 2025.
No, it starts at 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if anybody wants to go, then let me know. I could take 3 and we can shoot down there, and hope other people would volunteer also.
We'll ask for that.
Yeah, 10 a.m. That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
On what dates?
So in September, it is the 17th. And I can email this to you guys as a follow-up.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. October 15th and November 12th. So I will just go ahead and send that off to you guys.
Yeah, if
and
I'm
you'll
in
see
town,
that.
I can take people in my car.
Okay, great. Yeah, and it'll be the executive director's letter that goes out to each of you guys every month. Those dates will be listed in the upcoming dates, and there's a standing piece in that letter that talks about the mobilizations and the dates that they are on. So, but I will send it to you.
So sounds good.
Multiple forms of communication works best.
Yes, absolutely.
Meeting adjourned.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Bye.